Well, no, in general, the reason why he's fighting you, again, here's the science. You're trying to have him you're trying to have him do the back part of the brain when he
Right.
does we just have basically nothing going on back there. He wants to do what he's really good at in the front part. So what we do is we focus on the kid's speciality.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS, Sharpen the Spear podcast, with another incredible guest. Russell Van Brocklen is in the virtual house today. And Russell, nobody knows Russell better than Russell. So Russell, I need the backstory. Bring us up to speed and we'll get into a great conversation.
Thanks for having me. I got into this teaching dyslexics how to read and write, and I was never supposed to do this. I was supposed to be a bureaucrat in the New York State government. So what happened, it was the late 90s. I was told I wanted to know how laws were created, and on some course I wanted to know. So I signed up for the New York State Assembly internship, and I was accepted. And I show up and I said, here's my neuropsychological evaluation. I have a first grade reading and writing ability. And they looked at me and said, this will not work. We cannot have you do the internship. So instead of turning me away, they went up to the speaker's office, and he said, "We can't do any. We have to accommodate this kid." So they said they're taking me from the legislative office building and they're putting me in the Capitol, in the Majority Leaders Program and Council's office. And I was like, "Great for me," because they don't know what to do with an undergraduate. It's for grad students. Why was I there? They have 3 administrative assistants that could help turn my horrendous writing into something I could turn in each week. For the academic research portion, I ended up giving a long presentation, hours long, instead of a paper. They take everything and they send back the recommendation to our flagship university campus, the State University of New York Center at Buffalo, and their political science department. Now, the New York State government decided what these accommodations were. They don't have to accept the grade. Sometimes they make some changes. They recommended A- or 3.67. Guess what my actual grade was?
You tell.
An F. They didn't like the accommodations the state itself came up with. All right. So they flunked me. All right. I had enough of that. So I went on. I went to my other professors. I said, I'm tired of the discrimination. Where do I learn to read and write in grad school so I could help other kids? So they have me show up. So they said, law school. So I audit law school. Second day of contracts, the professor calls on me. They smash students until you adjust. That didn't happen to me. I answered his questions. He asked more. I answered. Goes on, not 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He finally raises his hands. Russell, you couldn't be any more correct. I have to move on to the next case. I learned to read within a month, writing within a couple of years. Then I went back to the New York State Senate and I said, I want you to fund my research, which after a number of years, they did. First thing that we did is I took a bunch of highly motivated, highly intelligent high school juniors and seniors in a public school, 1 class period a day for the school year. They increased from the middle school writing to average range of entering graduate school students. They skipped high school, they skipped college. Cost New York State less than $900. They all went on to college. They all graduated. That's how I got started.
That's awesome. Well, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. I like it. I like that story. A lot of power to this. I think a lot of people, we see this, and you've got some time in the game here, Russell. So let's just start by talking a little bit about the diagnosis of dyslexia. Like, I have a sister-in-law also who suffered from that, put herself through college, taught herself around that, right? She was a gymnast as well. And she had to keep that scholarship, blew her knee out like 3 times. Okay. Had to keep going to get it, but she really overcame that stuff too. And it wasn't super popular, I'm going to air quote, back then. because people didn't really understand. Because I don't know where it, I don't know in the shame aspect, or people, you know, they just thought they were dumb or whatever that was. But it's become a lot more commonplace now, at least to recognizing what that is. And I know a number of people have really worked with this this. Do you call it a disability? What do you call dyslexia?
They call it that. And that's what really kind of drives me nuts. So let me tell you what dyslexia actually is.
Yeah, let's do that.
This is the number one book in my field. Overcoming Dyslexia, Second Edition by Sally Shaywitz. She's a medical doctor from Yale. All right. That's dyslexia. Do you see how the back part of my brain has next to nothing going on and yours is going crazy?
Right.
But the front part of my brain's about 3 times over, or 2.5 times overactive.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we're talking off camera, you said you have a son named Oliver who's 18, who's
Yes.
dyslexic. Okay. And you've been
Yes.
homeschooling him. Okay. So here's what's going on. Do you see that what you've been trying to teach him is to become generally well-rounded in a lot of different subjects over
Correct.
the years?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, let's again go to the science. And you're trying to have him do reading and writing. You're talking generally about the back part of the brain.
Oh,
We got next to nothing going on there. Okay. That's
right.
why it's so hard. The secret is to shift it to the front part of the brain. That deals with word analysis followed by articulation. So, what I did when I had that huge success on the GRE is I use the front part of the brain. So let me give you an example of a younger student. I'm writing a book on him. It's called Literacy and Dyslexia Reading Turnaround. His name is Reed. His mother's name is Kimberly. I met them last December 27th of 2024. Unbeknownst to me, Kimberly just at that time spent $700 to have the state of Ohio test her children. What she found was Reed was a grade and a half level behind. He was reading at the 11th percentile, writing at the 4th percentile. If he were in public school for the rest of the school year, he was supposed to increase by 2 to 2.5 points. Didn't happen. He increased by 20 points, about 7 times faster than what the school was supposed to teach him. And Kimberly spent less than a half the time working with him each week on English than the school would have. Okay. Why is that important? Because at the end of the school year, he was at the 65th percentile in reading, 64th in writing. And his friends came to him and said, Reed, we want you in public school because we want you there socially, to be with us for lunch, be with us in class. That happened in January. He would have been put in special ed, away from his friends. Very unhappy kid. Now he's in 6th grade, getting generally A's and B's, and he's completely fine because his mother did what every parent dreams about.
Right.
She brought him past grade level. How was that possible? Because the first thing we did is I said, okay, we have to teach these kids in their speciality during the intervention period. You can put them in normal classes once they're reading at grade level. For the intervention period, we have to focus on their speciality, their area of extreme interest and ability. Now, have you noticed that Oliver really liked to do certain things and he put a lot of effort into it? And then things he didn't like in school, you had to really fight him?
Yes. He must get that from me, Russell.
Well, no, in general, the reason why he's fighting you, again, here's the science. You're trying to have him. You're trying to have him do the back part of the brain when he
Right.
does. We just have basically nothing going on back there. He wants to do what he's really good at in the front part. So what we do is we focus on the kid's speciality. Next, what we do is we can't remember you were trying to teach Oliver the big picture and then you went specific and it was really hard on him.
Right.
That's because for a dyslexic, that's like grabbing fog. We have to switch it around to go from the specific to the general. So you can't ask Oliver, what effect did the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech have on the American Civil Rights movement? Grabbing fog, nothing
Right.
there. If we then asked him specific to the general, what personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? We could go and look up the information that'll answer that question. Then that answer will give us another question, which we answer, another question, which we answer. That forces our brain to organize itself using writing as a measurable output. Again, that forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. So if you ask a dyslexic, does, in your speciality, which in Oliver's case is welding, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed? Key question, but with little to no organization. The answer to that is going to be yes. So then what we have to do is to force the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. But then then it's word analysis followed by articulation, because that's what the front part of the brain is. Now with Oliver, can he write basic sentences okay? Or are they still like very misspelled words?
They're, yeah, kind of half and half. Yeah, he's still kind of struggling. Yeah.
Okay. So if you ask him to say, Oliver likes welding because it's hard work, he likes creating something, and he likes using tools. Can he write that with clean spelling and grammar?
Probably not.
Okay. I'm going to show you how to fix that in a few minutes.
Awesome.
Does that sound impossible to you?
No, because I've already been talking to you, and I know I'm a big believer in possibilities.
Okay.
That way, I'm up
Here's
for it. Let's go.
here's how we fix it. First thing we're going to do is you're going to type out on a laptop, not an iPad, not an iPhone, definitely not handwriting, on a laptop with a real keyboard. Hero plus sign, what are we talking about? You're going to have Oliver copy that. Hero plus sign, what are we talking about? Okay, we're going to go to a list of 10 things he really likes, 10 things he really hates. We're going to start off with the top one, which is welding. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have hero plus sign. What are we talking about? We're going to swap out hero for Oliver. Oliver plus sign. What are we talking about? Then we're going to swap out what are we talking about for the first thing on the list he likes, which is welding. Oliver plus sign welding. See how we got there?
Right.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you the simplest questions in the world that you've ever been asked, and I'm going to try to fool you. Most people make them, if you answer them exactly, it'll work. Otherwise, it's not. Most people don't get it, and then I show them what it is, and they have an epiphany on dyslexia. Do you think I can fool you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just try to answer them as exactly as possible. We have Oliver plus sign welding. We need to replace the plus sign with a real word. Here's my question. Does Oliver like or dislike welding?
Like
Exactly. Great so far. One more question. Put that word into the sentence. What's the 3-word sentence?
Oliver like welding.
You are one of the less than 10% of the people who actually got that correct.
No, yeah, I didn't change it to make it sound right. Is that what I did?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
Okay, good.
exactly what you did. Almost every other educated person, what happens is they make it sound correct.
See, I'm
Oliver,
uneducated. That's why I
no,
can do it because I'm uneducated. I got
no,
the
you're
secret.
educated.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I'm saying is you said you purposely said not to make it sound right. You got it. You're doing better than PhDs,
Nice.
because not only did you not you gave the right reason. So what happens is Oliver doesn't know how to add the S. So how do we get him to add the S? It took me 8 years to figure this out, and you just got it. Does it sound right? No. So we would ask Oliver to read what he wrote out loud. Oliver, like welding. Oliver, does that sound generally correct? No. Fix it. Oliver likes welding. Okay. So you just saved yourself sending him to a private dyslexic college for 70 grand a year for 4 years, because
Nice.
that's what it takes.
That or he could play Tarzan.
So basically,
Oh,
do you see how like and dislike is a form of word analysis?
that is awesome. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That is, again, the front part of the brain. But now we still need to do articulation. Oliver likes welding because, give me a simple reason why Oliver would like welding. Because why?
He's creative.
Because he's creative. Oliver likes welding because he's creative. Now, do you see after because the reasons are a form of articulation?
Okay.
Okay. So like and dislike is a form of word analysis. The reasons are a form of articulation. I keep driving this home because here's the science again. That's the front part of the brain where we have 2.5 times the neural activity.
Right.
Okay. So Oliver likes welding because he's creative. All right. Now, do you see how we have a whole bunch of misspelled words there?
Sure.
Okay. Here's how we get that to correct. We tell him to drop a period. We do not have him retype because of grammar unless it's really nasty. I mean, horrific.
Yeah.
We ask him, does it sound generally correct? And if he fixes it to it does, that gets rid of the horrific grammar mistakes. We let other people worry about the mild to the medium stuff. We take care of the horrible stuff. All right. But the spelling is horrible. If he misspelled a word, then he has to retype it until it's correct. It takes 3 to 13 times generally. He keeps saying, I'm not going to make that mistake. And he keeps making it until he doesn't. Each time he retypes, he concentrates harder. And that's where the magic happens. Sometimes between 9 and 13 retypes, you can start seeing the sweat coming down the forehead sometimes. And they're concentrating so deeply. That's where the magic happens, where it self-corrects.
You know what I love with this? I'm going to go back to the keyboard thing, right? Being on the laptop. That's a thing that really makes sense because you're not writing the letters.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm like, that's actually really smart because trying to formulate a letter alone. Okay.
Takes up all the space. Instead of writing
Yeah.
W, we hit a key because let me give you an example. That original program I told you about, I pulled aside one of the students. His teacher said this kid's a freaking genius. Worked like crazy. What happened? I gave him a simpler GR. He scored in the 70th percentile. Then I give him a simpler one in what he cares about. The first one was he has no idea. Okay, 70th percentile. But this time I said, you're going to handwrite. He dropped 40 percentiles.
Wow.
From the 70th to the 30th. Okay, that's how big of a drop. I don't think these kids should ever handwrite again. It's controversial, but that's how it is. Okay, but it's literally that simple. Now, when we're talking about like, I got to come back to what the kid's interested in. Parents don't understand why I put that first. I'm going to tell you about a student. I have never saw this before her. I will never see this again in the rest of my life. This was a one-off, super motivated kid. Her name was Casey. I met her in 5th grade. At the end of 5th grade, she was 10, turned 11 over the summertime. She was reading and writing at the 2nd grade level. She was really interested in Theodore Roosevelt, so I signed her this. The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, all 900 pages. 10th grade to first year college level, depending on who you ask. This book won the Pulitzer. Okay. She said, I want to do reading first. I said, Casey, I do writing first because if you can write it, you can read it. If you can write a word, you can read it. She says, no, I want to do reading first. I said, okay, I'll give you a version of what I do. I adopted it. Here you go. You're not going to do it. She did. I said, okay, 20, 30 minutes a night, 15, whatever. Your mom decides what it is. Not Casey. She literally locked herself in a room 2 to 3 hours a night for 6 months. At the end of that, most of the days during the summertime, she could read this entire book. You could flip it over to that page, point to that word, and she would tell you the dictionary definition. Now, how do I know that? Her mom she got a call from the school. They were in a silent reading class. Kids came over, took her book. They couldn't get past the first paragraph. And her teacher calls. Your daughter's the best reader in the class by grade levels. I thought she had a huge reading problem. Please just tell me what's going on here. Her mom calls me. I said, what do you think she's been doing in her bedroom for 2 to 3 hours a night every night? Okay. Now, Most motivated kid I ever met. Okay, now let's look at why you have to be in the speciality. This is by far the most famous, the most popular book I have when I teach kids in general. Walt Disney, Triumph of the American Imagination. Why? Have you ever been to Disney World or Disneyland?
Yes.
Do you feel the Disney magic?
No. That's
Okay,
me.
but
I'm an odd
but
bird. Okay.
but you see how the kids do?
I do. I took my kids there and saw it with
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
it's two universal things. So I gave that book to Casey. She hated it. I cleared this with her mom ahead of time. I was just curious about what effect this would have on her motivation to do the work. After a couple of months, it's like, Casey, how's that Walt Disney biography? I hate it. Okay. How much has your motivation dropped doing this? She said about 50%. Okay. But understand this is motivation on steroids, down 50%. For most normal kids, you're down 75, 80%. Off the top of the bat, because you're outside their speciality when they can't read or write.
Right.
Now you're teaching them from the general to the specific. It's like grabbing fog for us. We can't learn that way. So we go from the specific to the general. Now you're down beyond 80%. And they're certainly not doing word analysis followed by articulation. And it's not the curriculums you're given to use or the schools are trying to make these kids fail. It's simply the fact that for 80+% of the students, they're not neurodiverse. They're typical students. Okay. It's the back part of the brain where they have all this neural activity and we got next to nothing. That's why in grad school we own the place day one or soon thereafter. Remember what I said about when I was in law school, and I did so well with that. Okay, when I had to come up with my original curriculum, people told me it was going to take years. I had a SUNY senior professor approve it in less than 2 weeks because that's the front part of the brain. So you see the dynamics there,
Right.
what we're looking at. So when we're looking at Oliver, it's very simple. What we do is we need to focus on something he's really interested in, teach him from the specific to the general, word analysis followed by articulation, until we get him up to where he needs to be. Now, as you said, he likes operating heavy equipment. What does he really need? As a dyslexic, because I have trained literally hundreds of kids who went into what I like to call the trades, the head and hands jobs.
Yep.
You have to really use your brain now, not like our grandfather's time, and you have to be good with your hands. Oliver is going to find all of this stuff like what the company's doing is stupid. Here's how to make it better. And they're going to say, okay, write it up. They don't want more than 5 paragraphs, so you need to show him how to do that. So that's the focus of building him up from these basic sentences to how to do basic 5 paragraph essays. And once you can do that, he should be just fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is amazing. Really impressive. It totally makes sense to me. You know, when you see it laid out this way, then if it's your own child, you start to understand how they operate, right? We kind of know those things, but you see these in a generality, but you can't put those pieces that you did together, right? And the number one thing is you understand kind of the brain science, if you will, what's missing. And when you start with that, which I've never heard of, right? And understand where that is, and then direct that going to the keys on the keyboard, right? Start putting all this stuff together, makes complete sense because I watch how he operates. Because here's another thing on that too is he also lives there's and you can probably speak to this better than I can, but there's a level of frustration because he can't read something properly, he can't write something properly, and it makes him angry. You know, even if it's not like someone did something made him angry. It's like his own inability causes a level of frustration that he begins to occupy himself with other things, like physical things. You know what I mean? Like you're doing things that doesn't require any of that. So he actually gets more distant from overcoming this than if he knew this technique you just showed us. It's really impressive.
Right. Now I'm going to give you a customized GRE type argument, which, just so you know, I put this at a fourth grade reading level. Are you ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay. The following appeared in a memo from the school safety coordinator. To reduce minor workshop instances, the market space should require 1 hour tool welding basics class before students use saws, clamps, or cutters during a 1 week pilot. Incidence reports fell from 8 to 3 per week after the school took the class. An exit survey of 60 participants found 90% felt confident in adjusting guards and securing material, and staffing schedule showed the lab typically has 2 adults for 25 students. Therefore, making the class mandatory will lower instances across sessions, assuming the class, not supervision levels, task difficulties, or tool availability, is the primary driver of safety. Does that make any sense to you?
No, one of my eyes started to close and going to sleep.
Well, yeah. Well,
No.
for Oliver, do you see how interesting that would be?
Yes, it would not be.
No, that's welding.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
But he's into welding. But that argument appears to make sense. It is actually quite stupid.
yeah,
Okay. It's a horrific. So what I just gave you there is Oliver looks at something like that. And what this is the end point after we show you how to do basic body paragraphs. You look at that and that appears to make sense, but it's actually really stupid. Okay. And his
right.
job is to write a response essay so that it's not stupid, how to fix it. Okay. Normally, when you're dealing with dyslexics in their speciality and you say something really dumb, they laser focus in like, that's not how it is. Okay. And it gives them a lot more motivation to get them out to write in that area. Because all he cares about going forward is how to write in that area. We're not doing Shakespeare anymore. He's out of high school. Make sense?
Right.
Okay. And it's a lot. This is something parents can do at home. You don't have to send him to Landmark College and spend house money on it.
Right.
Because literally they need about 4 years to correct students. And living on campus, you're looking at 80 grand a year plus
Yeah.
for 4 years. You got to spare 300-400 grand sitting in the bank you can toss at this?
Not for college. No.
That's what and that's what we're running into. Even if you're at a high school or middle school, that's what they generally cost for about 4 to 5 years. Or parents can do this at home in a matter of months generally. So that's what I do that's different. I just by the way, because you're interested in welding, do you see how that was about the 4th grade reading level?
Right.
Okay. I literally created a computer program where we mimic the GRE writing style. Okay. Where literally you tell me what the specialty is, you tell me the grade level, and it'll start popping out prompts. And again, that's where we end up at.
Right.
First thing we do is I showed you how to do the sentences. Then I show you how to do body paragraphs, basic ones. Then we show you how to do that. And then they're done.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome. There's always, I really enjoy the conversation, Russell, because for whatever reason, I believe I was just born this way. I was born a contrarian. Okay. So herd's going that way. I'm going the other way. Right. So think about that. So I'm always thinking, here's the standard way for someone to accomplish it, the 4 years of school, the money, all that kind of stuff. And they're going to, correct the dyslexia. I'm like, it can't be that. There has to be a different way. It's too institutionalized. It's the whole thing, right? Then you come on, okay, in 20 minutes, you give us the whole methodology and how this thing works. And now it's down from 4 years and a gazillion dollars to a few months and, working with it, I love it.
The difference is those schools, it hasn't changed. The founder of my field is Dr. Orton. He passed away in 1948. His approach hasn't changed much since the 1950s.
Right.
I know you were in the Marines. Has the Marine Corps changed much since 1952?
No.
I'm talking about its weapons. I'm talking about how they do things.
Yes.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit since 1952.
Yes.
My field hasn't. This book, Overcoming Dyslexia, came out in 2003. It's over 20 years ago. That's my field. Okay.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to know how I can show them how to do this, simplest thing is just go to dyslexia classes, that's with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com. There's a button there that says download free guide. Just fill out the 3 questions. You get a document, the 3 reasons your child's having trouble in school due to dyslexia. You need to actually book an appointment to speak with me. Because then for a half an hour, it's no charge. I show your kid what their speciality is, what book they're interested in, and their audio so they know what to do. I can't teach that to somebody. I have to do it.
Right.
All right. And then I ask them, is this how you would like to learn? They almost always say yes. Then I show parents how they can solve this quickly. Now, reason why I said months is because the older the kid is, the quicker they pick it up.
Mhm.
Your son at 18 will pick this up a lot faster than Reed, who did all this when he was 10.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it really is it's let me just say this is one of the great advantages of me being a podcast host.
Hmm?
Okay. I get incredible guests on who bring incredible value, insight, all this thing to everything, right? All the different stuff we talk about. And you are the first dyslexic expert I've ever had on out of 300 plus episodes. Okay. So you get to wear that crown. Okay, Russell. But it's super interesting. And the best part, super practical. I love application. I don't like just knowledge. I like knowledge with application. I always encourage my listeners when someone's offering a book or a course, like get it, read it, then do it. Because if you don't do it, if you stop after the knowing, it's ineffective, right? So I love this kind of stuff. This was awesome. You know what I mean? And you offering to do that, walk them through those steps. They hear that workshopped right here on my show. I mean, and we had just so everyone knows, full transparency. I had no idea, like we'd be talking about my son. Russell didn't know I had my son from dyslexia. This was like off the cuff, which I love. It's just super cool.
Yes, and that's what you have to be able to do, because I'll tell you, the hardest people that I deal with are not scientists. They're the kids with dyslexia. They tried everything, nothing's worked. Why is yours different? Because I went through what you went through. I had a first grade reading and writing level through college. You're like, huh? I said, yeah. You think you had it bad?
Yeah, it's
You know.
what I think about this. So I never had dyslexia, but first grade, second grade, I just remember this one experience. I didn't read well, right? So I was behind everyone else and all this stuff. So I had a teacher. I don't, so we're talking quite a while ago. All right, I'm up there now, but quite a while ago, she's like, "Well, come in early. I'll help you read." Okay, which I don't know if they still do that, but so I came. I'm in second grade, and I go there, and she has me read. Asked me to work on this book, and I don't know. I can't even tell you what she did. We're just reading this book. I'll tell you the funny part of the story though. And I end up being a grade ahead because of that little bit of help, right? So sometimes it's just that attention and like helping that person. So what she did, she was so excited I was reading so well. They were talking, so this would be 19, we'll go 70s, early 70s. Okay. So she pulls out of her desk, she goes, "Look, I have something new." She pulls out the big tape recorder, right? Kind of
Uh-huh.
the big one's like a whole, I don't know, it's like 12, 13 inches by like 8 inches, you put the big cassette in. She goes, I go, "Oh, I'm just like, oh, what's that?" She goes, "Oh, we're recording here. You're going to read. I'm just going to record you." I'm like, okay. So I read about, this is also ingrained in my brain, Noodles the dog, who's about a dachshund. Okay. In second grade, I thought it was a stupid story. Okay. So, but I'm reading this. Okay. She records and everything else. Oh, good. Okay. I go. And now we're in class during the day. And she goes, "I have a special treat for the class." And she reaches in that drawer and she pulls out that tape recorder. I am like going to die. I'm going, no, I'm shaking my, please don't play that. She plays it, right? She's so proud of me, right? So cool. All the kids start laughing, right? Dude, I slid underneath that desk, man. I crawled to the door. Okay, I gotta get out. And I left as like traumatized forever. But she's like, "Well, you guys stop laughing at me. This is such hard work." She was so great. You just take that time. But I remember now I'm a voracious reader. I'm a writer. I do all that stuff, right? So that was a great thing. But I just, that experience of that whole kind of, you know, unintentional humiliation was just kind of funny. But the real point is that that teacher saw that lack, that inability, and knew how to fix it somehow. And she did that for me, you know, and from then on, I never had another reading problem. So I don't even remember her name. I just remember the experience, but she's probably checked out by now, I'm sure. But like, it's those kind of things when you help someone with something as what I'll call it as critical, right? Reading and writing. Like those are two skills you have to have, right? To be
Yeah.
a right, like truly functional and like be able to, you know, excel in whatever you're doing. Without that, like you said, even the 5 paragraph thing, you're right, man. That's a big accomplishment, you know. So I love that you're bringing that up and you kind of show this where it's how achievable it is without the massive financial commitment or the years in the game and all that kind of stuff, to really just show the basics, how it works, address it, and change people's lives.
Yep. That's what it is.
Awesome. Well, Russell, one more time with the website where they can go and
It's just simply go to dyslexia classes, that's with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com, and just tap on download the free guide and fill out the form and actually set up an appointment to speak with me. That's the big thing.
awesome. Do it. As I always tell people, take advantage of this. Russell's got obviously a wealth of knowledge on this, an incredible achievement with others with this, and it's really great. And if you or a child of yours has this issue, like I'm telling you, and this is me learning just as much as you right now. So whatever you know now from whatever Russell said, I know the same amount because I never heard any of this stuff before, and we homeschool our kids all the way through. You know what I mean? So this is really, really awesome. And I'm going to have to make some introductions for you, Russell, because I know a lot of people you can help. This is really something. So any final thoughts for us?
Nope, that's it. I'm all set.
Oh,
Thanks for
you're a
having me
man.
on.
Russell, you've been the best. I appreciate you. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.